Patch 8.2 was heralded as the savior of the BFA expansion by many, and it's been on for a few weeks now, so let's see what are our general opinions on it. Hey there guys, PC Guy here, and this is a bit of a dive into the whole BFA situation. After the first few months, after a very solid leveling process and all of that sort of thing, we got to the end game and a lot of people were dissatisfied. Features like Warfronts quickly felt stale by being a bit too easy, not always available and up to do, not much of a point in repeating them. Things like the island expeditions were very criticized for their reward system. The rewards were very infrequent, some of them very rare. Sometimes for several expeditions in a row, you would get really nothing interesting, and it was the gameplay of them was also not really anything to look forward to. You were forced to farm them in specific ways and complete them in specific ways, and well, let's face it, even the mythic difficulty was also not really challenging and engaging. The raiding scene was mostly strong. There were not a whole lot of complaints about it that I have noticed, although the Crucible of Storms raid kind of fell flat. There was only 2 bosses there, a lot of guilds, my own included, did not really take it very seriously, and the raiding activity also dropped by quite a bit. The Azerite necklace system also was not an enormous success. It felt like a watered down artifact system. You had the feeling that every time you got a new piece, you were going to be going down in power instead of up, because some of the traits you had to re-unlock them again, so you lost power only to be farming to just get it back again in the form of the artifact traits, or Azerite traits, whatever you want to call them. They're kind of almost the same story. So that was also not really a huge success. Now with patch 8.2, Blizzard set out to fix a lot of those issues. The new Azerite system kind of fixes that slightly by giving you all the traits in a very easy manner, and the new essence system feels more customizable, and you can tailor your necklace better to your ends and needs by having essences acquired by a multitude of content that can be upgraded and switched out very easily at will, giving you different abilities, focusing on different things like AoE, single target, utility, healing yourself, and you name it, you can pick it. As for other things, Heroic Warfronts slightly felt they are more challenging naturally. However, there is still not a lot of incentive to do them more than once or twice. And even though they are a bit more challenging, the core gameplay is kind of still the same, and it's not something that you are really looking forward to, as opposed to a place to go to get a piece of gear while it's still relevant. And I honestly don't expect them to be very repeatable and valuable in the future when people get more gear from raids, and the gear from there is not really as important. I'll have to admit, I have not done a whole lot of island expeditions, so the sample size is very small. However, I did get a bit more rewards from the expeditions that I did do. You could attribute to RNG and luck, or you could say that Blizzard tried to make the rewards a bit more frequent. In any case, the change that has been going on already since patch 8.1.5, that you do not have to that the rewards are more well fixed. Let's say you don't have to specifically hunt rares, or specifically hunt chests, or specifically hunt a certain type of creature. That does improve the gameplay of the island expeditions. There's a few more different expeditions available, which also helps. So it is an improvement in that aspect. New raid, I have completed it on normal so far. It seems very interesting, even if there seems to be a bit of a difficulty jump. It is mostly accessible, with Azada being a bit more difficult. So this is a bit of a sudden jump in difficulty at the end boss. It is expected to be more difficult than the rest of the raid, obviously. However, it is a very sudden increase, so you'll probably see guilds gliding through, at least on normal and heroic, gliding through the rest of the raid with relative ease, and then being met by a wall at Ashara. This is a bit frustrating for one reason, and one reason above all other possible reasons that I could mention is that, unlike other raids in the past expansions, there are no skip mechanics. You cannot unlock, after a certain amount of clears, unlock a teleporter that takes you towards the later bosses in the raid. So you'll have to always clear up everything. This will, well, cost extra time, or you will have to extend the lock and, well, forfeit the loot on the first ones. So yeah, that is something that it's a gripe I have not only with this raid as it is current, but also on later ones when you have to, for example, let's say on Battle for the Solar, if you want to farm the Jane amount, you have to go through the entire raid again, and this is relevant for future content in let's say a couple of expansions when you can go there and solo it. You have to do it all again, which can be frustrating if you have a lot of months to farm and you do not have a lot of time available to play. But that's more of a personal gripe than anything else. Now, the meat of the patch were Najatar and Mechagon. I'll go over them one by one, although they do share common issues. Najatar is more your standard quest area. I do really enjoy the artwork on that quest area. It really looks like what an underwater zone would be if it was thrown off and thrown up in the air into the open air. So props to the art team for the artwork there and to how it looks and how it feels. It is what you can expect from a normal WoW questing area, quests, world quests, that sort of thing. You go, you do them, you go do something else. I do enjoy the random events that pop up, like the commanders and the summons from the depths and that sort of thing. Although the rewards kind of feel a bit underwhelming from those, considering they are rare events that are not always there. Flying definitely makes that zone a lot easier and a lot simpler to navigate than without. I was so happy that I finally unlocked flying because hare hunting was a pain when you do not have flying, and well, considering the amount of hare stuff like pets, mounts, toys, and such that those hares can drop, it is really handy to be able to actually go and hunt them and kill them. The hare frequency spawn rate was kind of a letdown. By the second you saw that the hare was up, by the time you got to it, he would probably be dead. This has been addressed in a way by increasing their health, although the frequency could still be boosted a little bit. A little note that some situations that should really be addressed, like the mining hair of Varius, is bugged. You cannot spawn it almost at all. It just gets bugged and you cannot really interact with the things that you need to interact to summon it, or you do it and then it does not spawn. And this hair contains mining rank up recipes. So that's as a bit of an issue for the gathering professions. It's been going on for 2 weeks now, and it still has not been fixed, which is very disappointing. They should, if they cannot find a way to fix it, they should just rework it so that it spawns on a fixed timer and be done with it until they can actually fix it. Because as it is very frustrating if you want to mine the new ores for your jewel crafting or blacksmithing stuff, and you are getting very, very poor returns in your time by mining them. So that is something that I wish Blizzard addressed a little bit sooner. As for Mechagon, it was advertised as kind of a Timeless Isle 2.0, a sandbox area that you would always have something to do. It was a bit disappointing. When I first got there, I was happy about certain things. Like, for example, you could not fly yet, but the jetpacks from the armories were a bit of a counter to that and let you go around the place easier. They're a quite fun mechanic, actually. My props to Blizzard for that. However, the general gameplay of the area kind of fell flat a bit. The hares are just hairs on a timer. Sure, some of them do require some additional actions to spawn, like for example the trog that you need to go there with the collar, or some of them you need to use some items to activate them. So that is all very interesting. However, end of the day, they are hairs on the timer, and although there's quite a number of them with quite a lot of varied rewards, you still can only do them once a day, and after that, well, you are kind of done with them. Same for general, let's say, grinding. It was advertised as an area that you could just go there, grind if you want work towards a goal that you had, be it a mechanocat or a particular pet, and you could pursue that goal in your own time and rhythm. And that's just not really true. Sure, you can grind for spare parts, but like things like the igniter holes or the galvanic oscillators, those things are extremely rare, and they come mostly from rare mobs, and very, very rarely from chests that you can. Those you can just keep gathering, but the majority of the situations, you are limited by the one time a day that you can kill the hare, and other than that, the only really repeatable thing you can do is just farm spare parts. And those spare parts have very limited uses because you are limited by the rare materials that you need. So as far as a sandboxy feel that you can grind if all day if you want to work towards a goal, that was not really achieved in Mechagon, I'm afraid. Something that also is very frustrating in this patch is how much inventory space it takes. There are dozens of different materials from both areas that you kind of need to keep on your bags to interact with this or that. From Mechagon alone, there's a good 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't even know, different things that you need, going from reagents for the tinkering, like the spare parts, the oscillators, and all that sort of thing. Also, with the recycling stuff that you can do for the repeatable recycling quest at the junkyard there to get some extra things. Those alone are already over 10 different items, I'm guessing. Then you have the items required to spawn some rares, like the pressure valves and all that sort of thing. And then you go to Najadar, and you get from the Mardivaz laboratory, you have also a number, like 4 or 5 different reagents that you have to save between each week to use them to spawn a rare. You have other things like the chum, the germinating seed, the pickaxe, you name it. You have another 10 or so different items from Najatar that you also have to keep in your bags to keep doing other stuff and spawning different hairs. Altogether, both zones are taking up a very sizable chunk of your bags, and if you are like many other people, the kind of player that keeps fun stuff to use on your bags, like I don't know, braces of awakening, engineering thing, anything really. If you keep teleportation items to get you around the world faster, if you add, you probably do not have a whole lot of backspace to spare, and these areas really hit you hard as far as backspace goes, which is one of my bigger criticisms here as far as non-gameplay related stuff goes. So did 8.2 really change the game massively? Yes and no. The new Azeroth system is very welcome. There is new content to do. However, my criticism for this new content is not so much that it is so much worse than what we had before, it's more that it was hyped up a lot to be something that it turned out not being, and being a bit more of the same. This is mostly aimed at Mechagon, because the whole sandboxy thing that you can always find something to do does not really pan out like that. You can grind recycling stuff, sure, but that's about the extent of grindable content that you can get. In the end, 8.2 does improve the game. Like I said, the Azerite Essence system is a very welcome addition, as well as the changes to the Azerite stuff. The island expeditions, if they are actually reworked to give more stuff, also very welcome. The new war fronts are nice to do a couple of times, but it is not the savior of BFA that we're all expecting. My personal opinion on this and what Blizzard really needs to focus on is things like the Mage Tower in the end of Legion. Those were things that really got people exciting. They were excited. There were very nice cosmetic rewards there. It was a challenge, no matter your gear level. It was overgeared at a certain point towards the end of expansion, sure, but it was very challenging. It was very personal. You had to work on it alone. It was your personal goal. You could go do it at your own pace. If you want to do it now, sure, otherwise do it next week. You could work towards getting your character for that and tailoring your character for that specific challenge. And you had a very interesting reward, which is something that BFA actually lacks in terms of actually compelling cosmetic rewards. There's not a whole lot of that going on, especially either from the raid. The raid sets are not amazing. They're not really class tailored either anymore, and there is not a whole lot of cosmetic reward to chase outside of the raid either. So yeah, I think that is probably the thing that most people need to get engaged and focused on the game. Something like the Mage Tower, perhaps not exactly the same sort of thing, but in that sort of thing, in that sort of content that actually challenges you. It challenges you enough that you have to actually work towards it and get better at it and actually try. But at the same time, the rewards are compelling enough that people will want them, and people will not just give up and ignore it. Because if they are power up content rewards, like like actually gear that makes you stronger or something that makes you stronger, people will feel like it's mandatory. But cosmetic stuff, you'll always have people saying, "Oh, I want it and I need it," but you don't really need it. It's more of a community feel that you have to have everything. But cosmetic things are more of a, okay, well, if you cannot do it, or if you do not want to do it, or to put the time into doing it, you're not really falling behind anyone else. So that is, in my opinion, the best approach to this. I don't know how you guys feel. Let me know down in the comments. But that is the best approach to this I can think of right now to give people challenging content with meaningful rewards that actually makes people want to do it. Now let me know what you guys think about 8.2. Are you enjoying it? Hate-wise, Mechagon and Nazatar-wise, Warfront expeditions, all that sort of stuff. What do you guys think is the best points of 8.2? What do you think should be better? This has been Ethic PC Guy. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Otherwise, check my next video and maybe you'll like it more. Have fun in 8.2, and I'll see you guys in game and next time.